Okay, guys, we're back. Hi. I know it's been a really long time. It's been about 4 days, which is a really long time. I also did not go live during that time, so it feels even longer. But I really do not feel good. I still do not feel good. But because I appreciate you guys and I appreciate you guys being so patient with me, I am going to make sure that I put out a military true crime story for our little series. I promised you guys once a week and we're gonna get into it. So this story today surrounds Hasan Akbar. Super interesting story because Hassan was actually born Mark Fidel Cools. Well, what happened, Kristen? I am so glad you asked. Was her new marriage to this man who was new to the faith as well. She changed her name when she got married to Quran Bilal. I'm not sure. I butchered that. I know I butchered that. But ultimately, she thought it was a good idea to change her name and her son's name. But her son's name was changed to match his biological father. I don't know if that was at his request or not. But regardless, Mark is now Hassan, and Hassan was raised a majority of his life Muslim. There's really not that much information about how he grew up or the teachings that he went through. But I do know in 1988, Hassan was admitted to the University of California, Davis. It doesn't really seem like school was his thing though, because it took him a really long time to graduate. He took multiple breaks. Hassan ended up graduating in 1997 and he started in 1988. So that's quite a long time. Regardless of how long it took him to graduate, he still graduated with 2 bachelor's degrees. And of course, when he graduated, he had what seemed to be an endless amount of debt. Little side note, fun fact, a lot of people join the military if they have a lot of debt because the military forgives almost all your debt. And it goes bye-bye. Basically, you just need to know what to fill out and who to talk to, make sure your recruiters are actually helping you. But a lot of people join the military for this reason, so it's not uncommon. But he ended up enlisting into the army, and a lot of people are really critical about this. A lot of people speculate that it was more of a political move to join the military and it wasn't really about debt, so store that. Okay, so the way the case plays out, it seems like he kind of had a rough time in college growing up and then had a rough time in the military. That's the way it seems. You guys can let me know what you think. But you guys need to hang on for the ride because we are going to be bouncing around a whole lot here and it's about to get crazy. Akbar was assigned to Company A, 326th Engineer Battalion, 101st Airborne Division, and the time I'll be referring to is when they were deployed to Kuwait and they were about to be deployed or go into Iraq. I'm not really sure how to put that, but they were basically days away from moving into Iraq. In the early mornings of March 3rd, 2003, Akbar had decided to turn off the power generator that was operating the lights in the area that he chose to attack. Then after this, Akbar threw 4 M67 fragmentation hand grenades into 3 tents where soldiers were sleeping at the time. In case you don't know what that looks like, there it is. That is what the hand grenade looked like that he decided to use. Y'all, I don't have a photo of the tents, but if you Google the tents, it's literally very clear that there is little to no protection when sleeping inside of these tents. So he injured multiple soldiers. Then while everyone was running around panicking, trying to keep it together, trying to figure out what in the world was going on, Hasan Akbar decides to grab his M4 rifle and fire on soldiers headed his way. While doing this, he killed 2 soldiers, one being Army Captain Christopher Seifert, and then an Air Force Major, Gregory Stone. Christopher, the first man I showed you, was only 27 when Akbar fatally shot him in the back. And Gregory was only 40 when he died from one of the blasts from the M67. And during the blast, 14 other soldiers were injured. Now, all this happened in 2003, but he didn't get court-martialed for it until 2005, from my understanding. This all took place at Fort Bragg. He was obviously the only suspect. Now, while they were gathering their case to put against Akbar, they came across journal entries on his computer. And let me tell you, they are wild. The first journal entry they found says, "I suppose they want to punk me or just humiliate me. Perhaps they feel I will not do anything about that. They are right about that. I am not going to do anything about that as long as I am here. But as soon as I'm in Iraq, I am going to try to kill as many of them as possible." Okay, so reading that, I was like, wow, it's really obvious that he's very detached from his fellow battle buddies. But of course, there's more in this entry. He goes on to say, "I will have to decide to kill my Muslim brothers fighting for Saddam Hussein or my battle buddies. I am hoping to get into a position where I don't have to take any crap from anyone anymore." So to me, this sounds like he's really been able to paint an enemy out of anyone and everyone in his company and or around him. But you guessed it, there's more to this journal entry. Again, he goes on to say, "I may not have killed any Muslims, but being in the army is the same thing. I may have to make a choice very soon on who to kill." Now, going through this laptop, they found journal entries from before his enlistment. Remember, he graduates in 1997. Now, remember, everything I'm repeating are direct quotes from his laptop. A journal entry from 1992 reads, "I made a promise that if I am not able to achieve success because of some Caucasians, I will kill as many of them as possible." 1993. "I do not like the military. They have too much control over people's lives. I suppose I am just anti-government. A Muslim should see himself as a Muslim only. His loyalty should be to Islam only." 1996. "Anyone who stands in front of me shall be considered an enemy and dealt with accordingly." Also 1996, "Destroying America was my plan as a child and as a juvenile and in college. Destroying America is my greatest goal." I really just do not see someone hiding this for their entire life so well. If he did talk about it, why didn't anyone think anything or think to say anything? Mind-blowing. Wild. Now remember, that last quote was from 1996. He joins the military, he enlists in the army in 1998. If he's held these views his whole life, that didn't change in 2 years. So this is very much premeditated. So during the trial, they go on to interview his higher-ups and his fellow battle buddies. And they all confirmed, at least his higher-ups confirmed, that he did have like an attitude problem and an issue with authority. A lot of his fellow soldiers said that he was rarely in the company of other soldiers or anyone really, and he was often seen talking to himself just randomly, just whispering things to himself, sometimes just outright having a full-blown conversation, not even trying to hide it. But apparently what everyone thinks set off Akbar was that he was charged basically for insubordination, meaning he wouldn't join his unit's push into Iraq. I don't know if that means he would have to stay in Kuwait or if he would have to go back to the States. I'm not 100% sure on that. Now, of course, the only case that Akbar could make was that he was crazy. So his lawyer points out at 14, he was diagnosed with psychiatric problems that worsened when he joined the military. Things that included paranoia, irrational behavior, insomnia, and other sleep disorders. During his court-martial, Akbar actually spoke for himself and said that he felt his life was in jeopardy and that he had other problems. And if he wasn't looking guilty enough, at this point during his court-martial, he snuck something sharp into the courtroom. He was handcuffed and asked the military policeman what was guarding him to please uncuff him so he could use the restroom. And then proceeded to stab this military policeman in the shoulder and in the neck before being wrestled to the ground by another MP. And the judge did not allow either side to submit this as evidence for their case. So like I said, the judge said, like, no, you can't admit this to the case. Like, this has nothing to do with the current case. Whatever. I think that they should have admitted it, but I mean, he's guilty regardless. On April 21st, 2005, Hasan Akbar was found guilty of 2 counts of premeditated murder and 3 counts of attempted premeditated murder and was sentenced to death on April 28th. Now, I get a lot of people might be curious on what Hassan looks like, so this is what he looks like. Okay, so let's jump into final thoughts / conspiracies. It's very clear to me that Hassan was raised to hate Americans / anyone not Muslim. He's even quoted to say that this was his goal since he was a child growing up and in college. In my opinion, he was raised to hate, mainly on race. I just think it's so sad. People don't understand just how badly they can destroy someone by filling their head with so much hate. It's just super sad because I don't personally feel Muslims are hateful, or hateful people. So it's very unfortunate. It's also kind of sad that he viewed the whole world as an enemy, basically. Like, I couldn't imagine waking up every day. Like, I could not imagine waking up every day and going to work and thinking, like, these people are the enemy. I couldn't imagine living my entire life thinking everyone around me is the enemy and is the problem. Like, that's insane. Now, in my opinion, the only conspiracy that I really want to focus on is how far back did this go? Did it start with his parents? Did his parents teach this to him? Did his parents basically make this his mission in life? Or is this something that he came up with on his own? Is he really sick? Or is he a product of his environment? And if he was already struggling mentally, how did he even get into the military? Because I know people who are denied for a lot less. I don't know. But I do know if I was a soldier and my fellow soldier was talking to himself, I'd be like, yeah, right. It's not funny. But seriously, I would literally be like, are you okay? Or at least bring attention to it. Like, hey, I'm kind of concerned about this guy over here. But then again, it could have been brought up and the higher ups were just like, that's just how he is, man. Let him live. I don't know. I just know that for sure I need final thoughts from everybody on this. Do you guys think that his parents taught him his mission in life was to carry out this crazy plan? Or do you think that he just somehow twisted it into his brain into thinking that he had to do this? That he somehow convinced himself that this had to be done? I don't know. Let me know in the comments below. And as always, I would very much appreciate it if you guys commented and shared. A lot of people don't know that you can just hit copy link and that counts as a share. You can literally do that as many times as you want. But I would greatly appreciate it. Thank you so much. And hopefully I can get more out later this week.